What's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of The Travel Guy. I am Adi84, your travel guy, and we are part of the TW Explorers with Adi84 on YouTube. Check us out for all our travel adventures. But thank you guys for watching this episode. Today, I want to talk a little bit about hotel stays in the Disney area because this is a big one for a lot of people when they go to Disney World. They Disney alone costs tons of money by itself, right? So you got to think, how can I save money if I'm going to be going to the Disney parks? And what are some different techniques one could do in order to try to avoid spending crazy amounts of money? Is it worth it to stay on property for Disney? Is it better to stay off property and go back and forth or seek a hotel that has shuttles and whatnot? So I'm going to go, basically, I'll talk about we're gonna focus on this one hotel that we stayed in when we went there to Disney World in Orlando a couple, I guess, a few weeks ago. Um, and it was the first time staying here. We never stay on property. I've only stayed on property, I think, twice in the entire time I ever went to Disney. And I don't think it's worth the cost, to be honest with you. You get a few perks if you do stay at the property. I believe you get into the park a little bit earlier, which can help. But it only really helps initially for the first half hour or so. So you can get to that ride and you don't have to worry about getting to the rope drop and sprinting over there. But typically, if you go to rope drop and you're sitting there and you're waiting, you're going to be able to get on the ride anyways. So I never had an issue there. So if you just be there at rope drop, so, and you can sleep in a little bit longer. That's what I think of that. You also have, I think you get some discounts on some like restaurants and stuff. And you also have the transportation that's right in the hotel area, like the buses and sometimes the Skyline that kind of will take you around. So you do have the advantage there as well. But some of those hotels, none of them are, unless you're at the really, really, really expensive ones that are around like Magic Kingdom, like the Floridian or the Contemporary and all those. You can't walk to the park, right? And in reality, the only park you really could walk to if you're staying over there is Magic Kingdom or the transportation center for Magic Kingdom. And then of course you could stay at like the Boardwalk or the Swan and Dolphin and all those over there, and you'd be in walking distance to Epcot and still a little bit of ways to Hollywood Studios. So there's a couple of things right there you got to think about. I think ideally, if money wasn't an option and you didn't really care, I would probably stay somewhere in like near the boardwalk, just because personally we usually end our night in Epcot anyways, because that's usually where we aim for dinner, one of the countries over there. So that would just be convenient for us. We just walk out of the park and be right at the boardwalk right there. But that's not exactly for everyone. It's very expensive to stay there. So we tend to kind of do more of a an economical approach, and we'll search out hotels. Now I'm a pretty platinum member with the Marriott Hotel Company, so I have lots of points, and we usually use those when we go to Disney. And with the level that I am with Marriott, I do have free upgrades for certain rooms every year. And this is all part of the card I have. It's I think I pay $100 a year for an annual fee, and I am a platinum at this point, so you have to stay at least 60 nights a year. They give you 20 nights right off the bat or something like that to start with, so you really don't have to stay 40 times. So if you travel a lot like we do, it's worth it, especially with the free upgrades, which I'm going to talk about on this hotel right now in a few minutes. And it also helps you with the points too, so you don't have to pay for rooms. And believe me, it added. We went on this trip a few weeks ago, and we started in Boston, went down to Pennsylvania, the DC, down to Florida, and the most expensive hotel we stayed at were in Florida. So us saving money using points took a significant amount of that trip right off the bat. So typically when we go to Florida, we stay so you got Disney Springs. That's the area there. There is this area of hotel, which I'm trying to bring up on the map right now, that has three Marriott hotels all in a little bundle area. There's a Fairfield, there's a Spring Hill, and then there's a Courtyard. And these hotels are all they're all with each other. They have a pool and stuff that they share. Um, there's a lot of restaurants around these hotels. So if you didn't want to eat in the park and you wanted something, you have a lot of options over there. It's right off I-4. You could walk to Disney Springs if you wanted to. It's probably about a 45-minute walk, and there's no really direct route. And I think they do that on purpose. But they could have easily just built a little walking path on the I-4 over, but they didn't. It's on Vineland Avenue. So keep that in mind. I've stayed at those Marriott's probably a dozen times going to Disney, and it works out pretty good. And they offer, as far as I know, last time we stayed there, they offer a free shuttle in the morning. They'll take you from the hotels to the transportation center. And then they have one shuttle that comes back at night. Now, we never typically use the shuttle going back at night, frankly, because we don't want to be married to a certain time to leave the parks. Um, so we took advantage of the shuttle there. Now, here's the thing. If you want to leave the park, come back, the only really option is to Uber back at that point. Now, it's fine unless you have kids and you need car seats, and that becomes an issue. So we hadn't been staying at this hotel because of that reason. It didn't really make much sense to us. And it was a little bit more money than the hotel we stayed at. And we figured, well, we don't really need the shuttle anyways because we're going to be, if the kids, we're going to be Ubering back and forth. So um, that was an option for us. And I don't even know if the hotel's still option that option, but it's a good option. You just got to get up early in the morning. It was first come, first serve. One time was there, a couple times that you got to sign it up ahead of time. So it's one of those things. There's a lot of people that go on this big bus and they'll take you over to the transportation center and drop you off, but it's worth it. You put your stroller in, you have to bus and all that stuff. So keep that in mind. So that means you only have to Uber back once. And the goal is if you can actually get to Disney Springs, you're only a mile away. So that's a quick, fast Uber to get to where you're going. So, we decided to stay at a hotel. We stayed at the Delta Marriott Hotel that was a little bit closer. It was on the other side of I-4 and it was on the main road where Hotel Plaza Boulevard is. And if you don't know about Hotel Plaza Boulevard is a street in Disney attached to Disney Springs, which all the main hotel companies have properties there. There's a DoubleTree, there's a Hilton, there's a Marriott. All the big hotels you can think of are on that street. And our hotel, the Delta, was actually at the very end of that street on the corner. And it would have been about a 20-minute walk from our hotel to Disney Springs, which is perfect because if you need to get to Disney Springs, you're right there. Now, here's the downside. The downside is there's no way to get to any of the parks from Disney Spring directly. So there's a few ways you could get to the parks. You go to Disney Springs, you take one of the buses to, like, say, the Contemporary Resort, right, which is your best bet. And from the Contemporary Resort, you can get on the monorail right there and then take the monorail over to the Transportation Center. And then from there, you could either go to Epcot or you could go to Magic Kingdom from the monorail. Or you could take one of the buses that's there to one of the other parks, to Animal Kingdom or to Hollywood Studios. And if you're planning your day right, maybe you start there and you go to Epcot, and then from Epcot you can actually take the High Line from there to the Skyline rather to Hollywood Studios. So there's a bunch of ways you can get around, a few different ways, right? To keep in mind. So our goal was to stay at this hotel. Then we found out they had a shuttle too, which is even bonus. Well, we thought they had a shuttle. We'll get to that point in a minute. But we thought that it'd be great that we could eat one in the mornings. We could take the shuttle early, head over to the Transportation Center, do Magic Kingdom that day, end up in Epcot, and then take a bus from Epcot to Disney Spring or to a resort. Let's say we take the monorail to Contemporary, and from Contemporary we go to Disney Springs on the bus, and then we walk back to the hotel 20 minutes. So we don't need to pay for parking. Well, the problem was we get to the hotel, we check in, and they had discontinued the shuttle. So keep that in mind. If you're going to stay at this Delta hotel, they do not currently have a shuttle system to the transportation center anymore. They discontinued January 1st, the lady said. They were nice enough to give us some vouchers that we could, with a private company that would take us to and fro. They gave us 4 of them, one for each trip. Unfortunately, you have to be 3 years or older to ride this private shuttle because you need to be in a car seat, and they don't supply car seats. So we were kind of screwed. We had a 2-year-old, and we were kind of stuck. Now, if you have older kids, and even kids that are questionable in a car seat, and you don't mind just throwing them in the car, a regular seatbelt for a quick minute ride or two, it's an option. So they took care of us there. They gave us vouchers. They were useless to us. They didn't do much for us. They did take care of us by taking care of our parking first. So I will give you that. So what we paid for parking, because we ended up having to drive into Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios. What we paid in parking was roughly the same as the parking was for the hotel. So it was $30 to park at the parks each days. We stayed at the hotel for 3 nights. There was $60 for parking, so it was a wash. We were paying for parking, whatever. And it really didn't matter. And then it was kind of nice because then at the end of the night we just got in our car and we took off. But um, we went back to the hotel. We didn't do the walk-in plan like we initially. And the reason we didn't do that was because it was rainy and 32 degrees in Orlando in January. It was miserable. It was terrible. And at night, it was just wet all day. We had umbrellas on. Gratefully, the day it was raining really bad. We were at Epcot, so a lot of that stuff's indoors anyways. It was just miserable. So the walking was out of the question. We were saturated and wet. It was cold. It was miserable. Having the car there was just more of a convenience to get back and forth, even though it cost us. Now, keep in mind, though, when you do park at a Disney park, they do that the parking's good for the entire day for any of the parks. So if you're going to go to all four parks in one day and you're going to drive to each park, you can, the same parking, just to save your receipt, you could use that at all the theme parks. So keep that in mind so you don't have to keep paying for parking, which is nice. And I didn't know that until we got there, and I was actually shocked that they allow that because the way Disney tries to grab money from everyone and their brother for doing a million things, shocked. So great, keep that in mind. You pay parking for once for the day and drive on. Of course, if you don't mind driving. Now, a lot of people like driving because you're in and out of the park. If you get there early enough, you get there up front, and you don't have to worry about it. We parked in the transportation center one day, and we parked at Hollywood Studios one day, and we just left our cars there all day, and we came back that night and got them. So that's the way it worked for us. It worked out great. We had no issues whatsoever. Um, so the hotel was really, really nice. Okay, so it's on the corner of Hotel Plaza Boulevard, and let's see, it is South Apoka Finland Road. Okay. And this hotel also had a few options to eat around there too. There was an IHOP next door. There was an Olive Garden. Um, you were literally a mile from or less from Disney Springs, so you had all those options there. So we ended up eating a couple times we were there. So you do have some eating options there. It's on the other side of I-4, so it's you don't hit the traffic, kind of going to the parks and stuff. And if you want to get to the parks, you kind of just jump on that Hotel Boulevard Road, and it gets you to where you need to be in the Disney system. So good location. I would stay there again. The only issue I think I had with this hotel, and it wasn't even a big issue. Well, it was the transportation thing that they kind of canceled on us and didn't tell us ahead of time. We had booked this hotel months ago, so for us finding out there was kind of a bummer. Especially when we were planning on doing that. But as it all turned out, the weather sucked anyways, and we weren't going to do that anyway. So that's a minor thing. It's not the hotel's fault. They discontinued. It's fine. Now the hotel lobby has a bar in it, which is nice. They also have a restaurant down there. Breakfast is uncomplimentary. As they are with like the Fairfield, which we used to stay at, which has a free breakfast in the morning. When I say breakfast, it very loosely, some cereal and some bagels and stuff, but something to eat in the morning to get you ready to go to the park. And I'm not a big breakfast guy anyway, so I just need like a bagel and a cup of coffee would be good. So you check into the Delta, and there's a bar downstairs, a restaurant down, so you have some convenience. It's a lot big parking lot, there's plenty of parking there. The hotel was kept in nice shape. We used our free upgrades for the 3 nights, and it wasn't anything spectacular. And I kind of wish we kind of saved them because we didn't really gain anything. The upgrade basically gave us, instead of having two twins, regular room, it gave us two twins with a sofa bed. So the room could essentially sleep six if you really wanted to. And the only difference was there's a bump out on this floor that extends out like 4 feet. So your room's 4 feet deeper than the other rooms. And that was the only option. It's probably like, it looks like there's one, two, three, maybe six of these rooms. It was like $100 extra a night that we got for free complimentary. So that actually saved us right there, which wasn't bad. And it all ended up working out good. The hotel did cost us about $375, I think. No, I think it was more than that. I think it was about 134 a night, something of that nature, plus the parking. But when we weighed the options of staying on property, it was about the same. Now, on property, when we stay at some of the, especially the discount resorts, you don't have bars, you don't have restaurants. There's so many of the hotels, they're so spread out, so there's usually a center point. Like, for example, if you stay at the Caribbean Resort, there's like 9 different villages, and each village has a bar around the pool, but that bar it closes up early. So you want to get a drink afterwards, you don't really have that option. And to get to the parks from those, even with the public transportation that they have within the park, still just take just as long sometimes too. It's almost as easy just to drive. So you're not saving time, you're not gaining convenience. The only, I think the perk is you get into the park a little bit early. I think that might be the only thing you get that you may not get with something else. So if that's worth it to you to get into the park an extra half hour early, then maybe that's something for you. But the price point for what those hotels were going for was way more money than what we paid for a hotel off property. So I'll give you to that much, okay? Now, because we were a platinum member, you got to keep this in mind. This doesn't affect for all people. So if you're a platinum or above, they do have a what essentially is a concierge lounge. Now, if you don't know what a concierge lounge is, for most Marriott properties, especially full service properties, they have a thing called concierge lounge, and the concierge lounge is usually open from Sunday night to say Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I think it's open every night except for Saturday, I believe, because I miss it a lot when I stay on the weekends because you don't get to go there. And basically, what it is, and depending on what state you are in, the concierge lounge will have like a bartender. You have complimentary drinks. Sometimes you have to pay for the drinks if it's in a certain state that doesn't discount alcohol. They do have snacks. Some concierge lounge has a spread. Like for example, we stayed at a full service Marriott in Baltimore, and they had a breakfast spread, a lunch spread, and it's just like snacks, right? I mean, you can fill up on it if you're not starving. They also have restaurants in these hotels too, so they kind of just want you to have a little snack and enjoy yourself. But it's fine for breakfast. Works great for breakfast. So this Delta hotel had essentially a concierge had a room on the second floor that we went to, and on the floor in the room it had in this room it was a coffee, there was some cereal, there was some bagels, yogurt, snacks like that. There was some waters. Now I did find that there were some people going to the room that did not have the option. They were waiting for the door to open and sneaking in, and I could tell this because one day I was in there and I'm going, the guy's shaking at the door trying to get in, and I wouldn't let him in. I'm just trying to do my thing. I wasn't really sure what was going on. I figured he had a key, and then he disappeared. Now, I went in at night around like right after we got back from the parks and go down there and I'd grab like a few bottles of water for us for the night and for the next day. Don't depend on getting those waters in the morning. The waters were disappearing like people. I swear people were going in there and filling up their luggage of waters because Disney will allow you to bring water in as long as it's closed. So people were probably just filling up on that stuff. So it's kind of shitty that we missed out. And they didn't do a 100% great job keeping it stocked, but I wonder if they were stocking and people were just cleaning out. So I really don't know. Um, but it was a real good perk. And we found we didn't. I didn't. So not having the transportation was kind of a bummer. But finding out we had that room and then going in and exploring the room and realizing, well, this took care of snacks for the kids. This took care of breakfast for the kids, and it took care of coffees for us and stuff in the morning. So it actually worked out pretty good. So it was a wash right there. So having that is something that the other hotels have as well. But these rooms were a lot bigger, deeper, big, deep rooms, wide, plenty of room. The only problem is they could have used some of that space for the bathrooms. The bathrooms were so small. We I mean these were the smallest bathrooms I think I've ever seen in a hotel. It was ridiculous how small they were. And we were both were commenting about it. We're like, well, it's kind of odd that these things are so small. It's like you can't really navigate around anything, and you know what I mean? It was just very claustrophobic. But like when you're in Disney, you're not spending a lot of time in the room. It's like Las Vegas, so it really doesn't matter. It did have a fridge. I believe it had a microwave too. You could microwave some stuff. There was also microwaves in that concierge room if you had access to it as well, which was nice. Um, yeah, so I kind of plan got kind of messed up a little bit because obviously we were planning on walking and we were planning on not depending on the car as much. It worked out for the most though because if we had to, if we were dependent on walking and all that stuff, that would have been a terrible walk in the rain. But mm, dry mouth there. What else is over there? There's a convenience store across the street. It made us think because no one ever thinks of Disney as a walking resort like a Disneyland itself, a Disney World rather. Disneyland, on the other hand, and we'll get onto this on another episode. We went for the first time last year, and Disneyland was a very walkable situation, right? So you got to remember they built Disneyland, and then obviously DCA came afterwards in the parking lot of Disneyland, and they built this giant park in the middle of a town, and the highway's right there, and there's people built all around it. So before Disney could buy all the land, people just bought land. So a lot of hotel companies bought land too. So you have a lot of hotels. And we stayed at a Marriott that was probably, I think it was a half-hour walk to the entrance on the main street. And on the street there was tons of restaurants, tons of drugstores, like CVS's, Walgreens, plenty of options. The walk was quick. We didn't have to park at the park. It was great. Because in Disneyland, what they did was they took over the parking lot that when they built DCA, and then they took over some land and built parking garages. So they have garages that take you across the street to the parks, kind of like Universal in Florida is, if you've ever been there. So there's no like parking lot on the property that you can just get out of your car and walk to anymore. That's another theme park at this point. So keeping that in mind, that worked out pretty good because we just walked everywhere and the weather was great. It was raining one day we were there. But it wasn't terrible. We had umbrellas. It was cleared up by the time the park opened. It was in the 60s. We went in April, which is probably not the ideal time to go to something like Los Angeles area because they get some wild weather sometimes. But um, we lived and we learned, and we took that care of. But so that, in a sense, was a more of a walk-in park than Disney World, where you have to figure there's some kind of driving or transportation that's going on. You gotta remember too, if you depending on the transportation, when the night is over, everyone's gonna be making a mad dash to the park. I remember um, just seeing people just in lines for the buses and stuff, to get back to whatever hotel they're at and stuff. So I don't know. I don't know. I want to talk about this hotel, and I'm glad I waited a little while to think about it because I don't want to bash it. It was a little dated. Could use a little work. There's a fitness center I think in here. I'm looking through the pictures right now. There's a cafe. There was also a pool with a hot tub that we obviously didn't get to use because it was 30 something degrees the entire time we were there. It's a really really weird time going down there. They have conference spaces. The only gripe was the shuttle being canceled that we didn't end up needing anyways, and the um shuttle being canceled. And a small bathroom, I guess. The perks was that concierge room, if you do have that privilege to get in there. Having a bar on property and having a restaurant on property helps too. Now, the full name of this hotel is the Delta Hotels Orlando Lake Bonavista. It is located, its formal address is 1249 South Apoca Vineland Road in Orlando, Florida, 32836. So it's right on that crest of going into Lake Bonavista, which is where all Disney sits and stuff like that. So, um, yeah, and like you go and like right now, you can get rooms for less than $100. If you wanted to go, like for example, I don't know why it's set on this automatically, but they get some deals. You can go down there. Like right now, I'm looking at so this date. If you want to win Wednesday, May 14th for some random date, it's like $83 to stay there, or 71 plus tax. So something to think about. The parking's a little outrageous though. I think it's crazy to charge $20 for parking. I know they can get away with it. I really really upset about these Disney parks charging parking at the hotel. A lot of people have to drive to the parks and pay parking again, so you're paying double parking. Um, and if you don't have a car, good thing we had a car this time, because if we didn't have a car, I don't know what we would have done. But that would have been an interesting experiment. But yeah, I just kind of frown. I know these hotels take advantage of this parking because it's free money, but it's what really burns you because you get a great deal in the hotel and then you end up have to paying, you know, crazy amount of money on parking, and it's like I just paid for a whole nother night with the amount of days in my pocket. So, and that's another thing. My little like beef with Mario is with the resort card we have. Well, not the resort card, the frequent user card or whatever you want to call it, the privilege card. Is that at a certain tier, parking should be free, and it's such a small thing to do, and it would help. It would be very very beneficial. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where if you just did, free parking for the hotels at this tier level, I think a lot of people would make a lot of people happy. And they would be less upset about other things that don't happen at the hotel, And I'm not being a hotel snob. I just think it would be a beneficial thing. I think, if I was to talk to someone at Marriott, I'd just be like, can you just give us free parking? That's all we ask for, just free parking. It's so small, right? I get it, but and I get it, that's a revenue source for the hotel, and they make their money that way too because it's free money that they can charge, amongst all the other fees and stuff like that. So, um, yeah, that was our hotel experience at Delta. We'll talk about another time the Fairfield and the Courtyards I stayed at on the other hotels we mentioned earlier on Violent Ave or Violent, yeah, Violent Ave, and the perks and the pluses and minuses about those. That's about all I ever stayed at for off-site hotels. It's they're there, they're close, they're very easy, accessible to get to, right near the highway. Um, Fairly clean. We did have an issue with when we stayed at the Fairfield one time, but other than that, it's not bad. So I think it's something you should weigh any options. Don't automatically go to the resort, unless you're getting a great deal and it's worth it. I just don't think there's any beneficial reason to stay at like the economy resorts, which are equivalent to these hotels that we stay off our property, than is to stay at like to one of those economy hotels off properties. I don't think there's any benefit to stay in the resort if you're going to stay at one of those. And the only way I think staying at the resort would be worth it is if you were staying like at one of the hotels that are right on the monorail line or close by, like the Floridian or the Contemporary, or the Polynesian. These are all hotels that are a little pricey, and my favorite's the Boardwalk one of these days. But like I said, you're not in the hotel room very much. So it's kind of a waste of money, right? You're just paying for the convenience right there. And you're not really paying for the convenience for the economy lot because you still gotta go around. So I don't know. They theme the rooms, I guess. I guess that's a perk. You're staying on the Disney property. I don't know. I just don't know. Years ago, I stayed at the tree houses. They don't even exist anymore. That was a hell of a hotel. It was really, really cool. They were like mini tree houses you stayed in. There was two levels and everything. Those were really cool. We did stay for a week. So there's a couple days we weren't at the parks. We were just kind of hidden by the pool and stuff like that. So I don't know. And the New Orleans resort I stayed at as well once before, and that was pretty cool. That was in the same trip. We split that time between the two park, between the two hotels during the week, and it also has its perks and stuff. So I guess you would have to break down each resort separately to kind of get an idea of what you really liked or not. But definitely, if you're going to Disney World, the Delta Hotel, Orlando Lake Buena Vista is something you should check out. Currently, if on Google, it's a 4-star hotel essentially. It has 4.2 stars. The only beef I said I had with it was the getting rid of the shuttle, so they don't have the shuttle anymore. Just keep that in mind. And if you have platinum or better for points or for your what your classes, I guess you could say for Marriott, you get access to that room too. So it's great. Thank you guys for watching the Travel Guy. If you have any questions, send us an email, twexplorers@gmail.com. It's twexplorers@gmail.com. If you have any questions about this episode or any other episodes that we've done, we'll be more than happy to answer them for you. You can also leave your questions in the comments below, and we'll go from there, and we'll get back to you on that. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys have a good week, and we'll see you next guy on the Travel Guy. See you later. Bye.